And what pumps your blood? Heart.
Oh.
And what did the
Machine
make? Heart.
Art. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream.
Woo!
How y'all doing tonight? I hope you're doing good. Doodly-doodly-doot. That's me playing the guitar. I've been playing the guitar a lot
Have you?
with my mouth.
Oh. Have you? When's the last time you picked your guitar up?
It was about maybe a month or two ago. I was trying something out. I actually wanted to see if I could plug my amp into my soundboard and record some guitar stuff, but my amp is, I think, fucked up. So it just sounds like absolute garbage all the time. I'm like, oh. I was like, I should probably get a new amp, but I'm like, I don't play enough.
Right.
To justify. Although it's a little amp, I don't have like a big one. It's
just
small.
straight static when you plug it in? Or?
It's pretty bad. It's just whenever I turn it on, it's like there's no way to adjust whether it's clean or with distortion or anything. It's complete nonsense. I'm like, well, so much for. I was gonna try and maybe do a potential new theme song, but I was like, well, that's not gonna happen.
Well, that's that then.
What's up, Zinny? You froyo liquor?
Don't you come in here throwing insults like that around unless you can back them up.
That's right.
Where's the froyo?
Where is it? Where's the froyo?
The froyo.
Where is it?
Where's the froyo?
Where is it?
Where is it?
No, that's not helpful.
Joker, you promised me froyo. Where is it?
Deliver.
Deliver.
Deliver the froyo.
Sprinkles.
Yay, meow. Smile, tongue. Right?
It was too much on the old Vokies.
On the Vokies.
On the old Vokie codes.
How did Christian Bale do it? I mean, really?
I don't know, man. That guy is, he's a talent. To be able to talk like that for 2.5 straight hours, which is amazing. I assume that's how they filmed it.
Right.
It's in real time.
Right.
Yeah. Because
Christopher Nolan is a stickler for, real film, He doesn't fuck around.
Director, that's exactly how they did all of their films. They just refused to shoot it.
They filmed it in sequential. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, we have to do it this way. It's like,
One take, that's it.
But
right.
We got to come back to this location? Yeah, we'll come back. When the scene says we come back there, we'll go back to that location. But until then, we move on. All right, check the gate. Let's go. Let's move. Break it down.
Do you have a copy of the script? Yeah. Then this shouldn't be a debate.
Right. Follow the movie, dipshit. And God forbid they have to do.
The audience wants to watch 3 scenes in a row here? No.
God forbid if they need to do reshoots. Like, that just messes them up entirely. Like,
they have to reshoot the whole movie.
Right. They have to go through it all. Just even if they're not recording, they still get everyone, like, they take them to all places so they can be in character, as they see what's happening. Yeah. Like, we can use our imagination, right? We can just imagine where we're doing and whatnot, and we can just make that happen. We don't actually have to film this or
this
go
isn't
do this stuff.
Make-believe. This is movies.
Meow.
Okay?
Meow. I don't know why I just meowed, but I did. Meow.
Damn it. I got mosquito bites on my legs. They're killing me right now.
You know what I have?
I have plantar fasciitis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
It's true. It's damn true. Oh, yeah, those mosquito bikes. Mosquito bikes.
Mosquito bikes?
Mosquito bikes.
Yes, mosquito bikes.
Mosquito bikes.
I ordered a mosquito bike 2 weeks ago, and it still hasn't arrived. Fucking supply chain.
Goddamn supply train. Choo-choo.
I know. It's supposed to come on that supply train, and it's
going to be a fun night with my words right now, I can tell. Doug, have you been drinking? I'm not drunk.
I'm not
One of my favorite lines from Scrubs.
Was it the janitor?
Yeah. Have you been drinking? I'm not drunk.
That's amazing. I was. Did you? Well, we might. I don't know if you give a shit to talk about this on the podcast, but did you hear all of the nonsense that was happening around the Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde movie in the premiere?
There was supposedly some. I don't know. I tend to stay out of that stuff, but I saw something about supposedly there was a falling out with Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Bottom line is I'm using that to get to the next story, which is in reading about all that. Apparently, I didn't realize this. Florence Pugh and Zach Braff broke up.
Mm-hmm.
and it was heartbreaking the way that they framed it, because a lot of people were saying they broke up in a Star is Born way, which is that Florence Pugh's Star is on the Rise and Zach Braff's is burning out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's just fucking, that's horrible. To, I don't think he's like on the out.
He's not dying. No. Are you dead? I'm not dying.
Not dying.
Are you dying? I'm not dead. John fucking Holbrook.
Oh my God.
How are you, man? John Holbrook has entered the chat. What's up, dude? How you been? I miss your scent. Hold on, let me try that again. 1 second here.
I miss your scent.
Is that better?
It worked for me. I'm hard.
Doing well. Good, man. Doing swell, mind you. I miss you too, boy. I miss you too, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. We're about to get into some shit.
Mm-hmm. Some serious shit.
Some shit. Playing the guitar again, By the way, random side note before we hit record, a former SMS employee, since John reminds me of that, found our TikTok, and it was the most recent one with Jared. Which, by the way, my prediction came true. Nobody gave a shit about that one. But one of my favorite ones to put together. It was amazing. Nobody cared. 91 plays on Instagram. We went from 27,000 and getting flagged as hate speech to 91. So,
did that one ever get reinstated?
It's in the review process. It can take up to 90 days, apparently. Right. So it's like, all right, whatever.
There's one random one that I keep getting flagged. I 3-4 Christmases ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had just Christmas music on the TV, and I was panning around our apartment in Chicago showing the decorations, and I posted it to Instagram. And this song was just on the background, right? Like it wasn't.
Was it a Prince song? And the Prince estate was like, "Get it out of there!"
Bing Crosby. So tomato.
There we go.
The Prince of the 50s.
The Prince of Crime.
It got flagged for copyright infringement, and so it was like, you can't make money off this. I'm like, first off, I'm not making money off of Instagram at all.
Yeah.
If you want to blue check me, we can talk about it. But
right.
And so every about 9 months or so, or like maybe every cycle when Christmas comes back around, I get a notification that your video has been removed, and then your video has been reinstated. And I'm like, I just am going to delete this fucking video because
nobody cares.
Yeah, so I have a feeling this might be that for the Mind Gap one, where it'll go back up, and undoubtedly will get flagged again, but then it will go back to.
If it goes back up, do all the stats stay with it?
I believe so,
okay.
But don't quote me on that.
All right, it'd be nice to have that back up. It would be great. Yeah. I will say this: the Jared reel did garner us 2 additional subscribers on YouTube, so I'm very happy about that. So
there you go.
Yeah.
What are we up to now, Doug?
212, baby.
212.
212. Very excited about that. Yeah, very excited about that. All right. Well, I think it's time to get this show on the road. So hold on to your sacks, because here.
All right, chill your tits.
Now we're talking. All right, and 3, 2, 1.
I was trying to time it with your clap. Sorry.
Center yourself. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And we're thrilled that you're here this evening. Justin tried to sabotage the opening, but here's the thing. I loved
didn't try
it.
to sabotage it. I was trying to time it with the clap.
That was terrible timing, sir.
I know
terrible
it was.
Timing.
Yeah.
If you were a drummer, you would be fired immediately.
It depends on what band I'm with.
I don't think any bands can be like, yeah, he came in like 5 beats too late.
You obviously haven't listened to a lot of
Nickelback.
New wave Thank you. That was a lot easier than what I was going to go for. Yep. Nickelback. We're going with Nickelback.
It's too easy. I should have done better.
Early Creed.
Or early Creed. Yes, we're happy to be here. Although, if you've been listening to the podcast, nothing really has changed from the sequence of which things have dropped. But for us, it's been well over a week since we've talked, because we recorded Jared's a little off cycle, because we want to do Jared a solid since he lives on the other side of the world and help him out with scheduling.
He lives in the future.
He lives in the future. I tried to explain that to my daughter. She didn't get it very well because I told her I have to go on a business trip in October, and I go, actually, where I'm going is going to be in the past. And she's like, what? It's like, yeah, it's on the West Coast.
Her little brain.
I go, it's 2 hours before. She's like, so how is this going to work? And I was like, well, when it's about your bedtime, it'd be like 6 o'clock for me. She's like, huh? I'm like, yeah, you can't tell normal time. So this is
right.
a concept that's truly foreign to you, but
it's
yes.
a Herculean effort there.
Yeah. I was like, essentially I'm going to go back in time. She's like, are you really? I'm like, kinda.
I mean, if we want to get technical, sure.
Yeah.
According to the whiteboard that Justin and I put together, no,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Kinda. Yeah. At the same time. Yes. So
see, what you're doing now is you're teeing Natalie up to be a proponent for our push to eliminate time zones.
Yeah. We're
going to get that on the ballot.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening, y'all. Right after we address climate change.
Or before. It might help climate change.
Who knows? Yeah. We don't know.
There's no way to tell.
Eliminate them. All right. We got rid of daylight savings time. Time zones. We're coming for your ass next. All right.
Wait, did we get rid of daylight savings time? Did that pass?
I'm pretty sure, I think Congress actually did something. They actually did something, which was eliminate daylight savings time.
Oh man, they're on top of their game. Good for them.
Yeah. I think, we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's supposed to happen, but we'll find out real soon.
Yeah.
Real soon. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about. So let's get through some housekeeping real quick. Hey, y'all. You know what to do. You know what to do. If you're watching us at youtube.com/mindgappodcast, you click that little like button and you hit that subscribe button because it costs you nothing. Nothing at all. It costs you $0 and it supports us. We are about 25% of the way to monetization. That's the word. Yeah, we're getting our way there. Just little by little. We're chugging along. And your support with the likes, the subs, the watches, the comments, just write something in the comments down below. The algorithm loves engagement, or just put your favorite emoji down there. That also works for us too. Whatever you can spare for your effort, we'd appreciate it. And if you're feeling a little more generous, you can check out our merch at redbubble.com for all the great stuff. And then also you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/mindgappodcast. And if you are a cool Patreon person, then you get a cool shout out like Tom McIntyre, like Richie Armour, like Zinni, like Slotty Botfast, who just entered the chat, and the Almighty Crit. You could be one of those cool people. We could say your name if you went in there and you did that. So that's pretty cool. Also, check out our Discord server. The link is in the description down below. You can come hang out with us. You can chat with us. You can join us for our game nights, which are super fun. You can join in the recipes. Man, that thing is... People are posting their hot recipes and things they're making. I think Noah made some Brazilian cheese bread tonight and shared a photo and some videos of it. I mean, Tint's been growing his own tomatoes. Like it's a real riveting thing. You get to see what's going on with everyone. Slotty's always posting something hot to get your balls going. Yeah, it's lit. Also, I started a new channel called Wins, where people just celebrate wins that's going on. And I thought, I don't know if anyone's going to use this. People have been fucking using it. And it makes me really happy to see people just being like, yo, this is what's going great for me. And I'm like, this is awesome. It's been really cool.
That's a great idea for a channel, honestly.
I was like, this is pretty awesome. The reason why I started, because you know what? We should start here. I think that we should start the reason why I started the Wins channel
Jesus Christ, Doug.
was because I was going to celebrate a win that we had, which was we had a short that did very well on Instagram. It was the one that I did with Noah about how men are gross, because when I was in college, it was one floor of dudes in the dorm decided that one stall was going to be considered the poop stall, and they all started pooping in there, but they didn't flush, so a giant poop pile started being made, and it was disgusting, and it was a wonderful sort of thing that just it really struck with the world. 27,000 plays on Instagram, and then some fucking asshole flagged it for hate speech, and it got taken down. So I submitted it to be reviewed by Instagram, but I don't expect a prompt reply. So I was going to celebrate that. I was like, check this out. I'm thrilled because we had this happen. And right as I was about to type it in because I want to get the most accurate numbers, it was like, oh, yeah, your shit's been flagged for hate speech. I'm like, hate speech? What? We're talking about dumps. Is it because men are gross? That's a fact. That is a fact. As a man, we're gross.
Yeah,
we are disgusting.
That's not a debatable thing.
Yeah. And not to mention that there was a guy that commented that said, I'd participate in that. I'm like, what? What? Like you would join in on the poo pile? Like, that's gross.
When you compared it to the Triceratops pile in Jurassic Park, that was it for me. I was like, yep, I get it.
Yeah,
or Stegosaurus, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was Triceratops. You were right the first time.
Okay.
You fucking idiot. So
Can I have another?
So anyway, come join our Discord. A lot of cool stuff going on there. You can also check out the Ask Practical Doug channel. You can also check out the throwdowns, all sorts of stuff. Really fun time. Join our Discord. Become part of the community. And also, don't forget, we do live stream on YouTube. We live stream podcasts on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central. That may be changing soon. Stay tuned. And I also host a video game live stream on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. I've been playing Minecraft with the Mind Gap All Stores, the Mind Gap All Stores. I'm having a hard time with my words tonight.
Tell me more about it.
Oh my God, it is so much fun. We basically just go into this world that Slotty has built, and we just fuck around, and it's so much fun. Oh my God, it's great.
You're fucking around with the blocks.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and we end up it's almost like its own little mini podcast. We were diving really into the Chronicles of Narnia for some reason during the last one, and having a really good time. Someone drew or built a big wooden dick on Noah's house. It was a dick chimney. Zinni was blamed, and it was fun. It was really, really good. Yeah, all was right with the world. So I think we might do that again, possibly this Saturday, and then I'm hoping maybe to do another Left 4 Dead stream in the near future as well. So we'll see. But regardless, come check out the video game stream. It's always a lot of fun, Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. Okay.
I would like to address something that we were just talking about prior to the housekeeping. Earlier this year, the Senate passed the Sunshine Protection Act of 2021, which would abolish clock changes in favor of permanent daylight savings time. That is going to start in 2023.
Yes. So maybe we will be going back this year, but I don't know.
Who knows, right?
Who knows? But in the near future. Thank you for verifying, Justin.
Absolutely. It's what we do. We don't want to ever get anything wrong here.
Yeah, ever.
It's not our brand.
Yeah, our brand is right, only right, far right, alt right. I was like, there should be some sort of soundboard clip, but I'm like, I don't think we have
I was looking through mine. I'm like,
we don't have the Adolf Hitler thing on here or anywhere, so I don't know.
Maybe. I guess.
There we go.
Yep. Wait, machine. There it is.
There we go. So anyway, it's great to be back, even though it's been a while. So we've had I don't know. I've consumed a lot of content. I've been having a really good time. There's been a lot of great stuff out there. One of the big ones was the Rings of Power on Amazon, which is the sort of prequel to The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Justin, did you get a chance to watch this?
I watched the first 17-ish, maybe 20 minutes of episode 1. I will say visually it was stunning. It was, and it should be for $60 million an episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, visually it was stunning. And, I'm sure the story was fantastic. Weird, subversive, subverting nerd culture. I never got into Lord of the Rings. It just was never something that clicked for me. I don't have anything against it. Just never really got into it. You and Drew rather showed me the 3 director's cuts of the original trilogy, which was great to watch with you guys. I never had any desire to pursue it past that. So yeah. I don't have a lot of background for this universe. And I think what it is for me is it seems like such a big lift because it's such a rich universe. I just it's overwhelming to me. But
which
that being
is
said,
funny because you like Game of Thrones.
yes, but I mean, I don't know. This is like, what's a sport? It's one of those things where I feel, like you feel what a sport is.
Yeah.
I just feel that this universe is too much for me.
It's funny because I feel like Game of Thrones is almost a bigger commitment because there's more hours of content versus like Lord of the Rings. So,
but I did that in real time. Like
Yeah.
I'm playing catch up on all the Lord of the Rings stuff.
you're caught up, buddy.
The Hobbits, I didn't watch
The Hobbits, honestly, you don't necessarily need to
Okay, fair.
because this happens before The Hobbit, The Rings of Power. So,
But the thing is, I couldn't tell you because even though we watched the trilogy, the original,
you watched
trilogy,
those
I couldn't tell you
like what,
from them.
5 years ago?
I mean, if not more, yeah.
If maybe not more. Like, yeah, I mean, it was probably, no, it was longer than that.
I had to have been.
Because we were still at assignment
We were
desk.
still-
So
yeah, which
between
was 20
2012 and 2014 is when you
yeah.
watched it. So at
Once.
one time. So
And there was alcohol
at
involved.
most 10 years ago.
Yeah.
At least 8. So
Right.
it's been a while. Because
Yeah.
I specifically remember showing you a map of Middle Earth and telling you where things were taking place in the movie. I remember because Evelyn was still there. Because I was like, she's gonna be like, what the fuck? Why are you guys not doing your job? Why are you talking about Middle Earth and where Mordor is in relationship to Rohan? Like, what's going on?
Right.
So
You and Drew I'll say this, were fantastic guides through that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, of course, I could have done it myself if I was like, I'm just going to flip these on. But you provided such wonderful context around everything that was going on. That all being said, I enjoyed the first 20 minutes or so of episode 1. I will probably eventually dive back into it and make my way through it. It's just very low on my list. Now, you, on the other hand, I understand, really shockingly enjoyed this prequel series.
so far, yeah, the first 2 episodes are out currently, and I checked them out. And Natalie was a huge fan of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And so I was like, do you want to watch these? And she was like, yeah. And we were having a really good time watching it. I agree. Like, visually, it's absolutely stunning, and I would hope so for the amount of money they dumped into this. Because if you think about how much money they spent just to get the rights alone to this, plus the production budget, I mean, Amazon's betting a lot on this.
Well, I was listening to that one podcast about the business, and they were saying how Bezos was a huge Lord of the Rings nut. So he was the one that was like, I want this at our thing. And then he kind of let go of the reins a little bit. Someone else came in, but they carried that torch. And it's not a surprise that they released it at the same time that the new Game of Thrones came out, because Amazon desperately wants that kind of tentpole thing for their service, because they don't have that yet. They've got good stuff, but they don't have that gigantic one.
Yeah.
And they were saying that in the industry, a lot of people are watching this because if this fails, it's going to be a massive swing and a miss for them, and it could be pretty detrimental.
Yeah. Slotty goes, big Smeagol fan, I bet, in reference to Bezos. I think you mean a Smaug, the hoarder of gold.
Nice.
There's a wonderful cartoon that was going around, comic, on the internet that was like, like Bezos as a child. It was like, it's like, no, Jeff, you can't be a dragon, like as a kid. And then it shows him later, like laying on a pile of gold, just like,
Yes. I love it.
Later in life. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. I commend them, because they look at this as like, listen, we're going to get the rights to this. It's expensive. And if we're going to do this, they understand what it's going to take to bring this world to life. And they're going all in. So I think that's what it's going to take to really make this happen. Slotty goes, got plans on how to run his warehouses from Saruman. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. There we go.
The question I have for this is, you're spending this much money on it, with the idea that you're going to drive subscribers, right? Like, that's the ultimate goal with any streaming service, is you got to drive your numbers up. And a lot of people, are huge fans of Lord of the Rings, but I look at what is the possibility of getting a return on investment with this? Because like Netflix,
question.
They were dumping billions year over year in development, and now they've scaled that that back, and they're gonna do a little bit more hyper focus on what they're not just gonna shotgun blast it like they were. They're gonna reel in their spending and focus a little bit more on what kinds of things that they're doing, being a little bit more picky. But with this is double the amount of Stranger Things season 4. No episode of that really eclipsed much more than 30 million, and this is 60 about per episode. What I think, if I'm not mistaken, the most expensive series to date.
Yeah.
And if you're spending close to $1 billion on a TV series, like, are you gonna really make your money back? Like, or I guess for me, I'm like, what's the economy behind this?
That's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that because, you know, you can only have so many subscribers, right? And there's so many people that are viewing it. Like, is the hope that this flagship series will pull people in and then they will consume other content as well? Like, I mean, Amazon is pretty prolific in what it's got its tendrils, you know, into. So maybe if this is a gateway into other aspects, I mean, who knows? You know, beats me. Couldn't tell you what the return is on it, but
I'll be curious to see what the long game is, like what they're you know, if they've got some other stuff in the pipeline that they're kind of keeping secret and seeing how this goes, and then is there just going to be an onslaught of like really cool content from them? I'll be very curious to see what they do with this.
Because part of me was like, well, I mean, if there's merchandising, but they don't know the merchandising rights. It's just rights to, you know, to basically adapt this stuff. So, but yeah, first 2 episodes are out now. That comes out every Friday, and I watched the 2 episodes, and I was very pleased with what I was watching. I thought it was very engaging. I was very engrossed in what's happening. There's some mysteries. And this is, you know, everyone knows how I feel about ye old prequels. I think typically they're not good because they destroy any tension, any hint of fear that certain characters aren't going to survive because we already know what's going to happen. And with this, what I love about it is the elves are immortal, right? They can pretty much live forever. So we get to see younger versions of these prolific elves, which honestly had pretty little screen time in the original, you know, series. And this is happening thousands of years before The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So really, this is kind of like a very different Middle Earth from what we've seen so far. And it's drawing on, you know, obviously information from the Silmarillion and some other notes from, you know, Tolkien and things like that. So it's kind of fun for me because I'm like, oh shit, like, I mean, hobbits aren't even really officially there. They're called harfoots. Like, everything is just almost prehistoric in a lot of ways, you know.
The same race of creature then, or
it seems like it. Yeah, like they're pretty similar, but they're just, it's not like there's no Hobbiton or whatever and things like that. So, and I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler free as possible for folks because I want people to go and watch it. Sure. But I was very pleased with it. I think it's cool. I'm interested in seeing it, seeing more. Natalie enjoyed it, so I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. And I gotta say, my favorite part is what they did with the dwarves in the show. The Khazad-dûn and everything was awesome. Ra's al Ghul, Khazad-dûn, a boom, boom, boom.
Modaram, Sodaram.
Indy, cover your heart. It was so well done and enjoyable, and the dwarves were delightful. I thought it was really, really cool. So I really enjoyed it, and then apparently there's been a lot of people that have not enjoyed the series, and I think it falls into 2 camps, from my understanding of the everyone who's watched it, which is essentially Twitter, right? That's where you gather all the information on all the population, and I guess it falls into 2 camps. One camp is who are very big and understand the lore of Lord of the Rings and things of that nature, saying that they've strayed from some of the lore and they haven't really enjoyed some of the depictions of the characters. In particular, I saw one criticism of the King of the Elves, who basically their decision to do stuff in there, they're like, that's not who he is. This guy is supposed to know everything that's going on and see it in advance and is prepared for it, and he's not playing, you know, that's not who he is. I'm like, that's a fair criticism, right? We've seen that in depictions. So for some of that stuff, I can't speak to because I don't know a ton of the backstory on this stuff. I don't know who a lot of these characters are. I mean, I know who the big ones are, like Galadriel and Elrond. Durin, rings a bell. Oh boy, what's his name? Grimble. Grimble. Did you say Cuck?
Yep, that's what I said. Absolutely.
Grimble. God damn it, I forgot his name already. But he's a guy who will allegedly create the rings of power. I mean, so I don't have a lot of, saying that sort of stuff. I'm just kind of watching, being like, this is fun, it's enjoyable. So to that stuff, I'm sure people have valid criticisms and whatever, and I will never have problems with that. This, I kind of joked to you earlier that, this isn't my Sandman. Sandman, I'm very well versed in, and I understand things, but even then, I'm willing to, enjoy, some changes, like how, it's not John Constantine, it's Joanna. Right. I'm like, that's cool with me. That works. I'm fine with that. No big deal. So with this, I'm not sure, what the major issues are, but I'm like, I set that aside as like, I kind of file that under valid criticism. If someone is, looking at stuff based on their interests and things like that and calling out, what they like and don't like. And then there's the other part, which I think we could even do into two subcategories from there. One of which is nitpicking over every little thing, which is incredibly frustrating. Because when you start nitpicking in a world that has you're gonna make me hold on. I think this is gonna be more impactful if I was like,
if you're gonna be nitpicking over a world that has elves, dwarves, gigantic sea creatures,
Orcs,
Harfoots, men who fall from the sky and comets, magic, dragons, and everything else,
then are we really going to get all butthurt over whether or not an elf can jump off of a sword to attack?
Yeah.
To attack an ice troll.
Right.
An ice troll.
I'm going to say it one more time.
An ice troll.
Troll.
I'll give an example, and I'm going to show this to all the folks that are watching. And if you're just listening, I will read it. Here's a tweet from, I'm not even going to say their name because I don't think they deserve credit for this stupid fucking question. But what they're referring to is, if you've watched the show, there is a part where, first of all, the original post is, it shows a clip within the first 20 minutes or so of these elves that are getting attacked by an ice troll. And they're like, oh, this is so embarrassing. And they're commenting specifically on the quality of the footage. But the thing is that this person did not turn off like motion blur on their TV. And what that does is that really is not, motion blur is not designed to do you any favors with stuff like this. So it looks bad because this person doesn't know how to adjust the settings on their TV. And someone like calls that out. They're like, just because you don't know how to adjust the settings on your TV doesn't mean that this is a bad scene. But within that, someone replies, because there's this, what happens is Galadriel, like these elves are getting their shit rocked by this creature, by this ice troll. And Galadriel comes in and she does some really cool moves, attacks this thing, and essentially it kills the ice troll. And at one point she stabs it, and when she pulls out the blade, a little bit of blood gets onto the camera, right? We've all seen that. It's a stylistic choice, one which I don't particularly enjoy. I think it's, I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me. So I get why people do it, but it's not something that particularly applies to me. So this guy says, and then we can all assume it's a guy. I think that's fair. Can you explain to me why blood got on the camera lens? Is the camera supposed to be a person whose face got splattered? Or is the show acknowledging that there is a camera present in the fantasy fight? In which case, why didn't they reshoot the scene to avoid that mistake? This person doesn't understand how film works.
Bingo.
They don't understand how it works at all. And this guy goes on to basically like defend everyone's like that responds to him. He almost like indefinitely responds back, and it is exhausting listening to this guy talk. And one of my favorite ones responses to this guy was actually a person that has Bluey as their avatar, which is great. Says, can you explain how light was captured by the camera? Are we to believe some sort of magical camera was literally set up in Middle Earth and captured the light reflecting off the troll, and now that light has been recreated and is shot into our eyes? We have to believe this?
That's the kind of person I could be friends with.
Yeah.
That is wonderfully sarcastic.
And then someone else goes, this happens in Braveheart, Saving Private Ryan, and Black Hawk Down. Are those all bad action scenes? And the original poster says, ain't seen any of those. I would need more context. None of those are high fantasy. Braveheart is most questionable as historical drama. But I'm not saying the effect doesn't have a time or place. For example, if the splatter on the lens is supposed to be blood on someone's face. Again, this person doesn't understand how film works. Yeah. I don't make films either. But to be that fucking nitpicky, to spend the energy going all in on this, it is a fraction of a second.
It's so
that
quick.
happens. It happens so quickly.
It
and
was
they're like, why is there blood on the camera?
It was within the 20 minutes that I actually watched. And like I said, when we talked off mic, I clocked it when it happened. And then the scene moved on. And so did I.
Yeah.
Like it was like, cool. That was the effect they chose. We're moving on. And it had nothing to do with, it didn't pull me out of the scene. It didn't pull me out of the next scene. I didn't pause it and go, oh boy. Okay. I have to take a minute. I got to do a lap around my apartment because this is just too much. Like, I wish I had so few problems like this person does that I could spend my time worrying about that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I'm scrolling through Twitter on this, Slotty goes, you should do a show segment where Doug just gets lost down a Twitter hole following trending topics. Like I wanted to see Doug click and see why North Korea was trending and get his takes on what's there. We really don't need to do that. We really
Slotty,
don't need to do that.
Enjoy this because it's happening currently. Just live in the moment.
Oh my God. That just gives me like my butthole tightens up because it's either going to be really good or really bad. Like that's what it will be. And it's not, I don't think it just be me getting angry. And I don't think you all need to see that. That's no good. So that was one hot take. And there's this other hot take that was based on the same original post from the guy that's like, this sequence is embarrassing. And this other douche canoe goes down with a numbered list. It's like swords. So again, what happens at the beginning of the sequence is Galadriel comes in from another chamber, sees this ice troll just wrecking ass, and she basically like she's fought with these elves long enough that they kind of have like an unspoken thing, and one of her subordinates kind of like leans back, puts their sword down. She runs up the sword, and the elf like sort of like she jumps off, and the elf like catapults her on over the head so she can like come by and slash and sort of like fuck up this ice troll. And this guy goes, number 1, swords bend if you step on them, so that assisted leap makes absolutely no sense. Number 2, she magically hamstrings him on the back of his leg with a glancing blow to the side of the shin. Number 3, finger twirling a bastard sword 1.5 hand is a horrible idea. It's not a rapier. And again, it's why are we? This is just a fun scene. Does he do the same thing with the movie 300?
Right.
And the insanity that is that film, and the other bullshit stuff that happens with it. I mean, you could say the same thing in the original Lord of the Rings, where Aragorn, by himself, like eliminates 50 Uruk-hai at the end of Fellowship of the Ring when they come to, he's just like, my brother he asked a good question in that film. He goes, is Aragorn really good? Or are the orcs just like really bad? Or is it like a combination of both? Because he single-handedly just fights off a horde of these creatures. And I'm like, that's a really, because there's only a handful and they're just like absolutely just ripping ass. And I'm like, I don't know how to respond to that. So you have that, and then it's like, I don't understand how this is possible because, and as Slotty called out in the chat, he's like, if Legolas could shield surf down the stairs, no scoping orcs, I'm cooled with sword jumps. Yes. Also, Legolas walks on the top of the snow. in Fellowship of the Ring because he's light. Elves are lighter. They're nimble. They're agile. He also single-handedly kills a gigantic elephant in Return of the King, killing all of the army of people that are on top of this elephant and then headshots the elephant, killing it. Like, elves
Also,
are badass.
True. Also, this is fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all fucking fake.
Yeah.
I don't want to stereotype, but to the guy who put that comment, have your mom come down, help you clean your room, and shut the fuck up. Like, it's fantasy. My fucking God. We talked about the same group of people that jumped on like the Butthurt Bros when Captain Marvel.
With Captain Marvel. Yeah.
I feel like this is the same. It's like a subsection of the Proud Boys. You know, they just don't know when to shut the fuck up, and it just like they worry about the worst shit. So there are so many. Slotty says there are so many piss jugs in that room. It's true.
They are.
It's sad but true.
It's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. I just don't see the need to like be that nitpicky. There are times where you got to go in on this stuff and you're like, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. But I look at, again, elves are immortal, meaning that they can be killed, but barring any sort of murder or freak illness, these are creatures that will live forever.
Right.
And many of them live for thousands of years. We've seen humans in our real world who become really good at what they do, right? We've seen the Michael Jordans.
In a much shorter time span.
Michael Jordans, the Bo Jacksons. We've seen incredible just like inventors. Imagine if they had, I don't know, 4,000 years. John Wayne Gacy's. The 4,000 years to perfect and continue doing what they're doing. Like, imagine what would be possible in that amount of time. You would probably go through like, all right, for these first 400 years, I'm going to explore sports. You know, I'm going to do 100 years on 4 of my sports that I'm going to commit to. You know, I'm going to commit to those sports and do that. And then I'm going to move on to, I don't know, spreadsheet. I'll do spreadsheets for a couple years. And then I'm going to do, you know, ham bone. You know, I want to check out some musical interests. Like, it's not hard to imagine that these elves have spent considerable amount of time practicing and honing their martial combat skills to the point where they would be terrifying to see in battle, because that's what I think is so cool when you watch these movies and you get to see the elves in combat. You don't see a lot. You see Legolas, and he kind of is a really great microcosm of like what elves are capable of. And then you see it more in The Hobbit, where the woodland realm comes out and they fight at, you know, the Battle of the Five Armies, and you watch their coordinated efforts. Like, you're like, holy shit. Like, these guys know it's like second nature. They've done it over and over and over again. It's not crazy for me to think that A, we're in a magical world, and B, these creatures would be this profoundly athletic and capable to pull off amazing feats. It's not that far beyond. We also have the Incredible Hulk existing in a world where, you know, anything's possible. If we can accept that, we can accept this. I think it's very easy to accept that.
Well, I think that also is like, I understand that the broader idea of respecting the parameters that you set up in a world, like respecting even if there is magic, you've got like, look, we've set up, there are rules within the context of what this world is. And I get that. I understand that side of the argument. But at the same time, if there is magic and orcs and things like this, it stands to reason that maybe you don't know all of the rules.
Yeah.
Maybe there are things that are undiscovered by you yet in this world of magic. So
yeah. Someone also brought up the same thing, like to combat the guy talking about like a sword wouldn't bend like that. They're like, that's elven crafted material. Sure. Like elven, there's an elf that will make the rings of power. Like there is some craftsmanship magical things like that are unbelievable. It's not too hard to imagine to do a stretch that, they could jump off of a blade. Like, it's not that crazy.
That blade was made of Valyrian steel. We all know this.
That, you know, the bows are lighter and, you know, shorter than most bows, you know.
It's the magical bows of the elves,
Right?
They use magical elven twine for tremendous accuracy.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very possible that stuff happens. So there's that group of people. That's what it is. Blessed bow the elves, that's right. That just are nitpicking over every little thing,
Yeah.
and they happen to be nitpicking over scenes where a woman is kicking ass.
Yep.
And I don't think that's a coincidence when that happens. So that leads us to our second subset of people that are just unhappy that there are brown people in this show at all. Just 100% like, there's a brown elf. What's up with that? Or the fact that they're like, hey, how come there are brown hobbits and brown dwarves? Like, what's up with this brown skin? People are like, they're woke. They're woke. I'm like, really? We can accept there's elves, orcs, ice trolls, and all these other things. They're like, brown hobbits?
Right.
This isn't fantasy anymore. It's woke politics. It's insane to me. And my favorite part about this is that you have, well, first of all, dipshits like Elon Musk weighed in. They're like, Tolkien would be rolling in his grave. It's like, what the fuck do you even know, Elon Musk? Shut the fuck up.
We talked off mic about this, and when Elon Musk first hit the scene, I was like, cool, like a badass billionaire who's bucking the system, and this is kind of cool. And now, man, I just wish he would hop in one of those rockets and just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Just take a one-way trip, man. Be the first man on Mars. Do it. Go.
Yeah.
Like,
because
that guy is just fucking we don't give a flying fuck about what you think about the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Go away. Go
Nobody
invent
cares.
something. Yeah.
I know that because what's great is when you see people like Neil Gaiman weigh in and be like, hey, by the way, Tolkien described hobbits as having nut brown skin.
And then pulls a quote from the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Leave it to an author.
Yeah. And it's like, and some people are like, oh, well, because they're out like working in the sun, it's probably just because they're tan. They can't accept that they're like, oh, they're tanned white people. It's like, no, they are brown.
Right.
And I saw someone post like a picture, like a color swatch. It's like, this is what they were. This is what nut brown looks like.
Yeah,
this is the hex code for nut brown. Like,
right.
And it's just people look at that and they lose their minds because there's brown and they're like, oh, it's so woke. I'm like, is it? Because here's my thing. Black Panther should be black. Shang-Chi should be Chinese. Okay?
Absolutely.
Aside from those kinds of examples, go have fun with how you cast this.
Right.
I was thrilled that Idris Elba was Heimdall. Awesome. Cool.
Right.
Great. They're like, but they're Norse. Who gives a shit? Idris Elba's phenomenal as Heimdall. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And stuff like this, I'm like, they're hobbits.
Right.
Who
Well, it's no
cares?
different than Sandman when Death was
Right.
cast as a black woman. Like,
Yes.
it's like who? It's Death. Death
People-
is nobody and
People are
everybody.
like, but in the comics, they have bone white skin. Also, death appears to you as you need to see them. Death. Same thing with Dream. Dream will show up as you portray them. You know, as you've seen in, if you watched episode 11, you saw the episode of Cats, you know, where he shows up to other cats as a cat. Like, that's just how it works. That's how it happens. And if anything, it breathes more life into this world. It creates problems, big problems, because if in this age there are brown and black people, but in the third age there are none in the original trilogy at all. My dog just burst in here.
That was an aggressive entrance, Loki.
Yeah? You good? You good? If there are no brown or black people in the later trilogies, what happened?
Where did they go?
Did Sauron get a hold of them? Because there's not one single person of color in that original trilogy at all. They're all white. All the hobbits are white.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's the funniest part is that all these fanboys are clamoring about, I'm sure they're using that as their point of reference, the Peter Jackson quote unquote source material, and ignoring the true source material where they were described with nut brown skin. Like it's these fanboys think that they are fanning out so hard and they're missing the actual root, the actual source of this beloved material.
Yeah, it was so frustrating for me to see people like just exerting that much energy, because they went on Rotten Tomatoes and they review bombed it and things like that, and people are just sitting there going, they're chanting, "Go woke, go broke." You know, like the idea that if you make a show that's quote unquote woke, then you're going to go broke. And I'm like, how does that affect the storytelling if there's brown people in there? If unless this is, like I said, a Black Panther or a Shang-Chi or something like that, like why don't be beholden to let anyone who can fit the. I thought it was awesome, like, it's to see this sort of diversity. Like it wasn't distracting in any way. It made sense, because I'm like, there would be this kind of stuff.
A lot of the shows that I've been watching that will be coming up in subsequent weeks' recommendations have I've noticed a very distinct, be it diversity in ethnicity, diversity in gender, diversity in relationships and sexualities. Like way more shows now that have been coming out have been including this stuff, and it's noticeable. But for me, I would assume for the broader public, save for these fucking idiots that we're talking about, in a great way, it's noticeable in a great way, because it does feel way more akin to what actual life is like. You know what I mean? Like if you walk down the street, you're gonna see different mixes of couples regarding sexuality or gender or ethnicity or anything, and all of that being portrayed on screen really makes it such a richer experience to watch these worlds being created, instead of this homogenized view of what it's been for the last 8+ decades since this medium was invented.
Well, it's like I don't agree with it, but I can understand if someone watched Sandman, they'd be like, what the fuck is this, right? There's a lot of different desires, this androgynous being that is the embodiment of desire. You've got people that are trans, people that are gay, all sorts of stuff, but that's in the source material. Like that exists
was that
there
way since 1989.
Yeah, it existed in that fashion. So if someone was like, ugh, this is woke, I'm like, nah, man, that's the source material. Like, yeah, that's just kind of how that stuff
Gaiman
is.
was woke before it was cool to be woke.
Yeah, so like I said, like I don't agree with it if someone feels that way, but I can at least understand it if they're like, I wasn't expecting this. It's like, yeah, well, that's what it is, so get over it. And with this stuff, I'm like, one of my, again, like I said, some of my favorite moments are in the Dwarven realm, and Durin, who is the prince of that realm, and his wife is Disa, and Disa is a woman of color, and she is phenomenal in there. She is delightful. She's not even in the episode that much, but she's absolutely captivating, and she and the guy who plays Durin are the best. And I'm like, this makes sense. Like there's nothing distracting about it. Right. There's nothing that seems forced. Right. Like there's nothing that is as much as I love Avengers and Avengers Endgame, I still go back to that scene where all the ladies show up. I'm like, that feels forced. They were trying to do something. I was like, I understand it was, the intention was good, but it was like, ugh, it's cringy. Right. It's cringy to me. Whereas I look at this, I'm like, this feels like a lived in world where these people exist there. It doesn't feel forced in any way, shape, or form. It makes sense. Like, and so for people to be like, nah, I don't like seeing people that don't look like me on the screen. It's like, God damn it. Just, and then, to add to that, She-Hulk, is just, which is, I have to say, I was really hesitant to watch the show because it didn't feel like it was a show for me. I'm like, based on the trailer, we
tore the trailer apart on this show. Yeah. And we'll cop to this. Like in fairness though, the trailer, I don't know if the graphics weren't done or what, but the trailer looked bad. Yeah. Graphics wise, CG wise, that looked bad. Yeah. Show comes out, we're, our foot is in our mouth like that. The show is shockingly good.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
It's a fun show.
It's a romp.
Mm-hmm. It's a fun show.
It's a lark.
And it knows what it is. And it's true to what it is, and I appreciate it. And once again, because there is to what appears to me, it's female centric. That's where it gets all the hate, And
yeah, exactly.
It's people are, hitting on the last episode where there's a dancing like situation. People are like, oh, this is what we've come to.
She-Hulk twerks with
Megan Thee Stallion. It's just like, get out of here. Like,
it was very akin to the tone of the show. It worked within the tone of the show. So like for people, but what is this? It's lighthearted. The show itself is lighthearted. The show itself is self-referential.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. And I think it's tough seeing people complain about this stuff. Like it's super frustrating, and it makes me just be like, you know what? You all don't get content anymore. You can't have it. You're taking it away. You don't get to have this stuff anymore, because here's the thing. You cannot like something. That's totally fine. There's plenty of stuff I don't like, and I've gotten to the point where I was really mean and cruel about stuff when I was younger. I would get on my soapbox and I would be like, this movie is terrible. No one should ever watch it. If you watch it, I'm going to judge you. It's like, that's not
Doug,
how
I
it
mean,
should
up
go.
until about a year or two ago, we were doing that.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing is, like, we realize that it's okay because we got in this realm of like, it's either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever.
Right.
And that's not how life works. Like,
not at all.
There can be nuance to things. Like, you can enjoy stuff and you can just be objective and things like that as well. But the thing is, like, we're getting to a point now where people are so, whatever reason, angry about stuff that they make it their mission to go and review bomb things. And they're like standing up on things and they're nitpicking all the little things about these scenes where I'm like, you could do this with any movie. Do you do this with every movie?
Right.
Because then how do you enjoy a movie? Because there's things about every movie that are always going to, I've been on a kick recently where I've just been going back and rewatching like just older movies, and like one of my favorites, Gladiator, fantastic film. Guess what? Some of the special effects aren't great.
What? No.
There's that one particular scene when they first enter the Colosseum where one of the chariots falls over, and for a brief second you can see there's an air tank.
Yeah,
that like shoots out stuff that something falls. You can see it showing for just a second. Like it's like, oh, there. Or there's a part where one of the guys gets shot with arrows. You could tell there's some sort of vest that he's wearing underneath, and it's poking out. And hey, man, it's still a good movie.
Still a good movie. Yeah,
still a great movie, right?
Doesn't change the fact. Yeah, look, like effects and what have you are that they're bad. They get dated. They come. They go. A good story is still a good story. If it's well acted and it's got a good plot, like you can get past a lot of stuff, and you should be able to look past it. You and I have talked for a long time about how the idea of approaching things, there's just too much negativity out there. So why put more negativity? Why not just be like, yeah, let's celebrate people creating things. And if something's, if we don't like something, we can talk about that. But there may be some people who the best example that we always bring up is the Fast and the Furious franchise. That is not movies for us. You and I don't necessarily enjoy those movies. We wouldn't seek them out, but that doesn't mean that we're going to shit on them. There are things that are absurd about those movies, but we're not going to shit on them, because there are people out there that those movies are for. And so I think we just need to get to a place. The world right now is dark enough. There's a lot of shit going on that we just need to just enjoy people creating cool content.
Yeah.
Just be supportive, And if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Turn it off. You don't need to sound off.
Yeah. It's like someone who's
as we spend an entire episode sounding off, but
yeah, but it's like someone who's at a comedy show. There's a joke and they stand up, they're like, I didn't like that joke. It's like, you just don't laugh, don't clap, and if you didn't enjoy the show, just never go see that comedian ever again.
Yeah.
You don't have to take it upon yourself to be like, I'm going to give them my critical feedback. That's actually not helpful because I don't understand the craft. And it's not to say that you have to be an expert in filmmaking to point stuff out or not, but there's also times where I'm like, you don't understand anything about this, so you should shut your goddamn mouth. Like, there's too much of that going around where someone's like, well, I'm going to weigh in on this. It's like, yeah, but you also don't know what you're talking about. So, You could say, I didn't like the part where the blood splattered on the film because it just felt out of place. That's a fair statement to be like,
Yeah, can someone please explain to me why they decided to do this? I mean, is it like that this is supposed to be a camera in this fantasy world that's getting on the camera? And if it's so, like, why did they just reshoot it?
you don't know anything about this. Stop talking. Have you ever been given $60 million to make an episode of Lord of the Rings or anything for that matter? Shut your mouth. Shut your goddamn
that's the
mouth.
thing. If you look at most of the people who criticize this stuff, most of them have zero samples in their portfolio. They have not made anything.
Yeah.
And they won't, because they don't have the balls, they don't have the imagination. They will criticize the shit out of something someone else made, but they don't have the guts to go out and do it themselves. They lack the vision to go out and do it themselves. You know, those who can't do, you know, they criticize.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just, to those people, I always say, if you don't like it, go make something better. Go show us how it should be done.
Yeah.
But until then, all your talk is just fucking, it's hot air. It's cheap.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, this stuff really got under my skin because it just felt like, listen, I'm not a staunch defender of the Rings of Power. There's 2 episodes. There's a lot left. And if this thing, you know, just ends up shitting its pants, I'll say it shit its pants. But these are such poor, like baby-minded criticisms of a piece of content that I find just so frustrating, because I'm like, listen, if you're going to do this, do it well, do it right. Give good, constructive criticism. Don't go on there and whine, because also because intention I think is important. And if I'm being generous, some people may not have the intention of coming off like a racist or a misogynist or something like that, but they need to be careful of that. They need to really be like, I don't understand why this girl's kicking ass. It's like, what? Why would you even possibly say that? Why would you even be like, why are there black people in this? This doesn't seem right. And like, what, are you implying that elves are so pure that they would never have anyone other than white people in their ranks? That seems strange to me that you would do that.
The thing is, when you make a statement like that, if there's a lot of inference that can be made, and you might not like where it goes. You know, and the internet's a very public platform.
Yeah. And it's just, again, this happens in everyday life, right? You know, people say stupid shit all the time. I'm that guy that says stupid shit. I'm an idiot. And I've said dumb things that I, to this day, regret because they didn't come out the way that I wanted, but they were perceived a certain way. Sometimes that's unfair, and sometimes that's just life, baby. But in a world like this, like, you've got to be aware of how you're coming off. And if people point that out to you, you need to be like, explain yourself. Like, if people are like, of course you're just going to result to calling me a racist. It's like, well, you're seeming really racist right now.
Yeah.
Really racist, because as we've said many times, in a world of fantasy where magic and ice trolls and dragons and dwarves and elves and rings of power and orcs and goblins and giant spiders galore and balrogs of the fire realm exist, you'd be like, but why are there black people? I mean, you kind of just seem racist.
Right.
You kind of seem like you can't suspend reality to be like, but there's black people. Black dwarves? I don't think so.
Real hard to defend that, yeah.
Yeah, very hard to defend that.
Real hard to justify that.
Yeah.
It's, you know what it is? Those arguments aren't practical.
Goddamn right they're not.
And when it's not practical, it really grinds my gears. And you know whose gears it really grinds?
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Practical, 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 practical. Ask Practical Doug.
So, if you've never been here before, been a little while since we did an Ask Practical Doug. There's a small Doug that lives inside Big Doug. That small Doug is named Practical Doug. And Practical Doug guides Big Doug on most of life's adventures. And if you are a fan of the show, even if you're not a fan of the show, anyone can ask Practical Doug a question and get a practical answer in return. You can join us live on Tuesdays, for now, 8 Central. Dun, dun, dun. And you can ask in the chat. You can join Discord. There's an Ask Practical Doug channel there. On any social medias, hashtag Ask Practical Doug. We'll get our attention, and you can ask Practical Doug a question. Today's Ask Practical Doug I believe was put in the Discord. Is that correct, Doug?
This one may seem like a bit of a cheat because I put this in the Discord.
You did. Okay.
I did.
Gotcha.
I saw this on Twitter. It's basically from an Am I the Asshole like Twitter account. And it goes a little something like this. I'll post up there for people to see if you're watching. If you're not, I will read it to you. So Slotty goes, this seems like a bit of a cheat. It is, sir. It says, am I the asshole for not wanting to attend a Game of Thrones themed wedding? My friend Lexa is getting married soon. She and her husband are extreme Game of Thrones fans. They've watched the show 5+ times. Their house is decked out with the Game of Thrones themed decorations, accessories, etc. Because of their shared love of Game of Thrones, Lexa and her fiance decided to have a Game of Thrones themed wedding. I am perfectly fine with the idea of a themed wedding. I'm even okay with the Game of Thrones dress costume for the wedding. The only thing I can't seem to get behind is the fact that the majority of the wedding will be conducted in High Valyrian. For those who don't know, it's a made-up language from Game of Thrones. Her wedding is also a destination wedding, and I'm finding it hard to justify going out of my way to go to a wedding that's not even in a real language that I won't be able to understand. Am I the asshole if I don't go? I mentioned that I was having doubts to Lexa, and she got really mad at me because I had originally said I could go before I knew it was in High Valyrian. She's also been sending me links to learn High Valyrian on Duolingo, and I feel like even if I did show up, she'd be mad at me for not learning it. And she also adds, the reception will also be in High Valyrian, and all speeches and toasts are expected to be in High Valyrian too. First things first, Duolingo. Like, kudos to them for hooking people up with the fake languages.
I guess. Again, what's your ROI on that?
Yeah, I mean,
how many people are clamoring for High Valyrian?
And not only that, I mean,
Thank you.
someone did have to build that language, and I guess if it is built and you do want to learn it, then, Here you go. This one's pretty cut and dry for Practical Doug. No, you are not the asshole for not wanting to do this. This is a considerable amount of effort to put into someone's wedding, and I mean, I'm putting myself in that position. I just be like, oh, I'm not going. No, well, here's where it would be for me. If you're like, oh, hey, we're doing a Game of Thrones themed wedding, and you have to dress up, I'd be like, cool, I'm out. I'll send you a gift. Let me know how it goes, because I'm not a costume guy. I'm not going to put in the time and effort to come up with a costume. And
let's do where do you fall off, Doug? I'm doing a Game of Thrones themed wedding.
All right, cool.
You're in.
I'm all right. All right. I'm a little hesitant, but I'm like, because this is probably going to be a little awkward. But hey, it's better than doing a regular church wedding. So cool. I guess I'm color me intrigued.
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Second level, Doug. I'm doing a Game of Thrones themed wedding, and it's a destination wedding.
Okay, depends on the destination, but okay, I'm still there. All right.
Doug, I'm doing a Game of Thrones themed wedding. It's a destination wedding, and you have to dress up.
I'm out.
Got it.
Hard out.
And
you
have to learn High Valyrian, because the ceremony is going to be done in that. All the speeches are going to be done in that. No one will be speaking English.
Fuck you. I'm sending you a Star Wars gift card.
I'm sending you a Rings of Power gift card.
Yeah, this is what you wanted, right? Lord of the Rings, like this, and my axe is what I'm going to send you. Like, it's fucking bullshit.
And it's a card written in Klingon.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, here's some Star Trek shit. I think it's incredibly. This just, again, I'm going to assume that everything the person wrote here is 100% accurate, because I have no other details to go off of. So if there is any sort of exaggeration or whatever, then, I can't really judge off it. But assuming it's true, I think this friend Lexa is and her, fiance / husband are fucking dickheads for doing this, because, yeah, it's your wedding, but if you want people to show up, you're forcing them to be a part of this nonsense, and here's the thing, kind of go, because we did another one of these where it's like, is this person the asshole for, not providing food at the Disney wedding, or we were like, well, if it's clearly marked and you still show up, then, no, they are not the asshole for doing that. This situation, I mean, they are being upfront with it, but then you also can't be mad if people aren't going to come, because that makes them feel uncomfortable to have to learn a foreign fucking language. And that's insane.
I'll tell you what I would do if I was the what like the best man or giving a speech, I would stand up, I'd clink my glass, I would stand up, I would pull out a lighter, I would say Dracarius. I
Yeah.
would light it, I would drop it onto the tablecloth and walk the fuck out.
Yeah. That sounds good to me. Yeah.
Done.
I'd be like,
And I go viral.
what'd they say? They're like, I was gonna say, I plead the fifth. That's not what they say. They say they take the black. That's what they do.
Why is Doug saying I plead the fifth? I don't know.
I
think
plead the fifth. They're like, what?
It's High Valerian.
Yeah. Okay.
Doug got hit in the head by a horse when he was younger.
I'm totally fine with themed weddings. You know, I've never been to one.
Yeah.
I would probably not really look forward to going to one because that intense nerddom, even if I'm in it, I'd be like, you know, I'd probably find it a little uncomfortable.
See, that's the kind of shit I would relish.
Yeah.
I
What,
would
me
go
being uncomfortable?
both. Can't it be both?
Doug, you're my plus
love-
one to this wedding because I want to watch this and also watch you. And
Yeah,
you
that-
just watch
I
me
think
get
you
uncomfortable and be like, I
understand.
gotta go. And I just sort of stand up and walk out. Doug attends awkward weddings. That's a new
There's
segment.
the new series, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it would be fun as shit to go to a themed wedding and just watch because you got to assume grandparents are there going, what is happening?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's incredibly selfish of these people to do this and then ask people to learn. I think it's really selfish to do. And you know, Slotty's making some points in here saying, I think this person is over exaggerating unless they are giving a speech. Sounds like they aren't. Then it doesn't sound like they will be required to learn. Well, for that question, I'd say, you know, this Lexa says she got really mad and she's sending links to High Valerian on Duolingo. So, I mean, I don't think she's required to learn it, but if everything's going to be done in High Valerian, listen, weddings suck anyway, all right? They're boring, and you're just going to sit there watching people like, Ha Skaladigard, and then Zgu Skapale Bakea, Varia Skulvelo Kapaya, Skoreni, Ayahi. And you're just like,
So you do
what?
speak it.
I do. It's
All right.
also Swedish. You know, it's like, who wants to sit there and watch that? Because it'd be like completely different if it's like, hey, I'm marrying into a Spanish family and this service is going to be in Spanish. I'm like, well, I respect that. That's a real language. You could also argue that this is technically a real language because it exists. But I'm like, no one really uses this. This was made up from a fantasy world.
The thing is, too, Valerian weddings are notoriously long. They go like 5 hours. So.
Right. And they're notoriously bloody, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
So I just
50% chance you will die.
I was like, listen, do what you want for your wedding. Go do that, but also just don't expect a lot of people to show up.
Yeah.
So, and to this person, I'd say, no, you're not the asshole. Maybe you have a strained friendship, but hopefully you can explain to them, like, hey, listen, this is, especially because here's the thing that adds up to me. You've got the themed wedding. It's also destination. This is costing someone time and money to go and be at your wedding. And as someone who had a destination wedding, I was very grateful for anyone who took the time and effort to show up to my wedding. Like, I didn't hold it against anybody who didn't want to be there. I wanted the actual wedding service to be as quick as possible and as painless as possible because that's not what means the most to me. It was like hanging out with everyone and
Get to
just having them be there.
reception, the party, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, not only that, but they're requiring people to dress up too.
That's what it sounds
Game
like.
of Thrones dress costume. I'm even okay with the Game of Thrones dress costume for the wedding, which again makes it sound like they are requesting that people come in character. So you're also spending money on, attire, unless you're just wearing. I'm going to go as a peasant, and I'm just going to wear ripped, stained clothes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's.
Could you go as one of the crew members from Game of Thrones and kind of
I'm sure you would get.
around that?
I'm sure they would hate you for it.
Yeah, and just hold a Starbucks cup.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I think that to me is to this Lexa and her husband, they should be very chill. If they want to have this wedding, go have this wedding, but be very chill about who's going to be showing up and whether or not they want to, and what's actually going to happen, because that you're asking a lot of people. And if people are like super into it, awesome. That's great. Go. They're like, oh, dude, I totally want to do this. This is going to be great. Have your diehard fans. Don't be mad if other people are like, yeah, this isn't going to be for me. I love you. I support you. This just isn't something that I'm into, and I don't think I'm going to have a good time. Just be understanding of that.
Temper your expectations.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Practical Doug has spoken.
Boo.
That is...
Boo. Yeah. I was dancing. Dancing. Always good to do another Practical Doug, even if it's one that I submitted myself.
Hey, look, it was a good Practical Doug. I think that was a really good one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Now it's time for some recommendations. Justin, what do you got to recommend this week?
I am going to recommend on Hulu, Only Murders in the Building.
Heard great things about that.
Late to the game on this one as well. Season 2 just ended, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Beth and I binged season 1 and season 2. This show is fantastic. Episode 1, I was like, I don't know, we'll see. And by like episode 2 or 3, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. This is just fun. Steve Martin and Marty Short, they've been together doing stuff for, I don't know, 40 plus years, you know?
Yeah.
They're just, you know, old comedians, best friends. They have such a way of playing off each other. And then you add Selena Gomez into the mix, and it's just odd, you know, it's odd person out, you know, and fish out of water. She has such a wonderful, dry, sarcastic delivery. Made me a Selena Gomez fan. And so the three of them together just they're fantastic. And it's a fun concept. Steve Martin created the show with another guy, and he was like, you know, what if the original conceit of the show was, what if there were 3 old dudes in a building in New York, and they loved true crime, but they or like crime shows, and they wanted to solve crime, but they were too lazy because they were old and tired. They didn't want to leave the building, so they only solved crimes in the building, you know. And then that evolved into, because podcasts, he had this years ago, that evolved into, what if there was a podcast, and what if it wasn't just 2 old guys, it was 2 old guys and a young person, and then this show came about. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, Only Murders in the Building, highly suggest it. Season 3, I believe, is in pre-production or production currently. So I think we're getting at least one more. This is one of those shows where I do hope they wrap things up after like season 3. If they push it to a season 4, I got my fingers crossed, because the first 2 were really good, and if they keep going, I feel like it's going to be a diminishing return. So I think 3 seasons is that's the gold spot for this one. So
that's cool.
Watch it while you can.
Watch it while you can.
What do you got?
I took a risk, and I saw the movie The Northman was on a sale for $10, and without seeing it, I'm like, I fucking love Norse shit. This movie has captured me since I saw the trailer, so I went ahead and bought it, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't quite like I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It's definitely got some artsy vibes to it.
Okay.
But Alexander Skarsgård is phenomenal in it.
Is he?
And it's interesting because it rides the line between, you know, because Norse mythology and what they believe. Like, you can't tell. You're like, is he really seeing this shit, or is this like just in his head, or like, you know, it's kind of like this idea of what's really real and what's not.
Okay.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. The Norse mythology is always that, and Greek mythology has always just captured my imagination. I was always like, man, if I had to pick a religion, it'd be like a mix of those two.
Yeah.
Because they're so interesting. It just, I don't know. It's very well acted. Again, it's a little artsy, but it's pretty cool. And it's a tale of, you know, revenge, you know, vengeance and justice. It's interesting. It's a really interesting show. I recommend it. It was one of the things where I'm like, oh, I hope it's worth the $10. But the fact that I kept thinking about it for days after, I'm like, and I was like, I'm sure I will rewatch this again at some point, and that's a tell to me that it was the right thing to do. So The Northman.
That's Look, it's not a big and like it's not a huge gamble, but definitely still a gamble. You're like $10 and I own the fucking thing. Like, yeah. If this is a stinker, then I got to look at it and I got to be reminded of my choice.
Yeah, I prefer. Yeah, I like sure things that I want to purchase. For that sort of stuff, and that was one I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a chance, and it worked out. So I'm happy for it. So you should check that out wherever you can, if you can. Well, gang, that's our show for this week. Do us a solid. If you're checking us out on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. It means the world to us, and it helps us on our quest to being great. Do us a favor too, if you're there, drop a comment down in the comment section. Something we said. Do you agree with how we? Do you like the Rings of Power? Do you like what's people review bombing us? This thing. Let us know in the comments, or just do something down there. Engage with us, please. And be sure to follow us on all our social media at MindGap Podcast. We do post our shorts and things and all that sort of stuff on all our platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. So follow us and be on the lookout for when we go live, which is Tuesdays, currently at 8 p.m. Central for the podcast. Maybe a different time coming up shortly, and then Saturdays 8 p.m. Central for my video game live stream. And don't forget to follow Justin as well
on Twitter and Instagram at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Samsung Play, Podbean, Good Pods, all the places where you can find and consume quality podcasts. You'll be able to find and consume us. And we ask that you rate us, review us, share us, do all those things. One of the big ones is sharing us around. Just let people know that we exist. That goes such a long way. And like Tinkerbell, if you believe in us, then we exist. If you cease to believe in us, we'll murder you. And then TwoEast8th.com, and keep an eye on all of Two East 8th's social medias. We've got the Love and Improv Instagram page has been quiet, but behind the scenes, things are moving. So we've got some cool stuff starting to percolate.
Hell yeah.
I'll leave the tease at that.
Very good. Very good. Well, with that being said, I would like to say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Chat, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
From mouth guitar to mouth trumpet.
Hey, just want to say hello to Dark Cobra. I didn't get a chance to say hey to you while we were talking, but so glad that you stopped by. It's always good to see you again, sir. Slotty, thank you for tuning in. Zinni, thanks for tuning in. John Holbrook, if you're still around, thanks for stopping by. You're a goddamn delight. Me some more butt trumpet. I've had plenty of butt trumpet today. More like butt trombone, but sad trombone.
Bingo. All right. Oh,
man.
Boy.
Right?
So echoey.
The reverb is the best.
Yeah.
So it's so
Fart in a cave.
so good. It's so good. Slotty, you want to do some more Minecraft this Saturday for the video game stream? I've been having fun doing that, even though I do not provide any value to anybody at all on the server. I kind of just like jump from place to place just to see what's going on, see if maybe I can be helpful or maybe I can be destructive. I don't know. Should be fun regardless. Let's do it. All right. And then I'm going to see if maybe we can get some Left 4 Dead 2 action. I'm accomplishing nothing. You're doing way more than I am. You're actually building and gathering things. I'm not doing jack shit. So, waka waka. Stay tuned for that, y'all. All right, gang. You all, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us and for listening to us talk our thoughts and our feelings. And I will see you on Saturday for the next video game stream. And until next time, be cool to each other. Mwah.